Tottenham have found their new manager in Thomas Frank, and in this video we're going to be breaking down how he could set up Tottenham going into the new season. We're going to be discussing tactics, formations and a possible starting 11 to see how Thomas Frank will take Tottenham forwards. To begin with, let's discuss the formation. One of Thomas Frank's greatest attributes is his ability to be adaptable. The ability to look at a situation, look at a set of players, and look at the opposition and tailor a game plan for that specific moment in time. And many people will look at that and think that is a negative, it's something of a weakness, not having a singular way of playing, when actually it's just the opposite. It is a great strength, and it's a great strength that is only going to benefit this Tottenham side going into the future. We've seen Thomas Frank utilise a variety of different formations, from his 3-5-2 on his early days at Brentford in the Premier League utilising Ivan Toney, to his 4-2-3-1 that he has used with Brentford in the Premier League this season. And it's that version of the 4-2-3-1, or an adaptation of that I think he will bring into this Tottenham Hotspur side. We'll discuss through all the players a little bit later, but we're going to begin with the defence. As with almost every Premier League defence nowadays, Thomas Frank's backline must comprise of speed, height and aggression, but it also requires something else, and it's something that isn't necessarily as common. What we're actually talking about is the ability for the defenders and the baseline of that attack to start to progress the ball forwards and pass vertically, to find channels and pockets of space, to find their passing lanes and get it into the forwards almost as quickly as possible. It's this simplicity and verticality that gives this Brentford side its real trademark way of going forwards, and it's utilised at the base of the defence. Here we have Nathan Collins, a little bit higher than both his centre-back and his right-back that you can see on screen, but he's also looking for a pass towards his fellow forwards. He finds that pass and it finds a gap between the winger and the midfielder of this Newcastle mid-block. It's in this that he breaks that line, finds that passing lane and gets it into his winger, who is then able to go forwards, turn on a dime and then progress against that Newcastle defence. But it's through that verticality, that progression of passing, that gives this Brentford side that edge from the very get-go. In almost complete contrast to the way that Ange Postecoglou set up his Tottenham side, Thomas Frank's backline is going to be far more reserved when it comes to going forwards, opting for a more controlled approach rather than the chaotic nature that we saw with Ange's Tottenham. In this particular example, you have three of the back four just staying compact and composed together to allow for the left back to progress forwards. Again, like I said, still opting to continue with play, still opting to go forwards, but in a more controlled manner. It's through this that allows him to progress forwards and give the option for the left winger to move infield. The attacking midfielder dropping into a pocket of space to help with that progression. He doesn't need it in this particular scenario because he takes that moment, he takes that space and allows his side to progress forwards. But again, in a far more controlled manner. You wouldn't normally see both of the fullbacks going at the same time. Instead, a more composed, controlled approach that gives the almost emphasis onto the attackers to take those moments rather than the defenders. While I think the Tottenham backline very much does pick itself, I think you could argue that Jed Spence comes in for Pedro Porro, but generally the personnel, I think, are all pretty set. You've got Romero and Van de Ven being good progressors of the ball, good players that are able to progress forwards and take those vertical channels. Udogie is really good at moving forwards and then making those overlapping runs, but it's the tactics behind the personnel that I think is going to completely change the way this Tottenham side sets up. First of all, you're going to have more reserved fullbacks. Instead of taking those aggressive positions almost in those attacking midfield areas, you're going to see them actually play as fullbacks. I know that sounds a little crazy, especially in this day and age, but you're not going to see too many overloads, you're not going to see too many overlaps. Instead, just supporting the attackers to allow for them to go and do their own thing, taking the space that they require instead of really congesting the space that's in and around them. And when you look at this general backline, instead of playing a line that's really high, you're instead going to drop that line just a little bit, and this will help with a multitude of different things. Van de Ven won't need to be sprinting back as many times. You've also got a little bit more space to be able to work within the centre of the park, and that allows for that progression, that allows for that movement, and you're going to get a lot of that in this Tottenham side, especially with the way that they want to play and the movement they're going to want to have going forwards. That's to come later on, but as for this Tottenham backline, look for something that's far more composed, far more reserved and a little bit more rigid rather than the chaotic, expansive nature of that Ange Postecoglou side. It's something that I think is going to keep more goals out than let in, and it's going to allow them to have a base platform for their progression going forwards. It feels apt that while talking about the defence, we also talk about their defensive shape. When it comes to defending against the opposition coming forwards, you're often going to see this 4-2-3-1 change into something of a 4-4-2, opting for two players to be either the striker or a winger, or even the central attacking midfielder. In this particular example, Damsgaard, who is the attacking midfielder, moves into that left-handed slot to cover for Schade, who's a little bit further forwards. But you've got a good, nice, compact back four. You've got the two holding midfield pivots, and you've got the two wingers either side of them, creating what you're seeing here in a nice, compact 4-4-2, which gives them the ability to not only drop back into the box, but also to maintain a good line and a good shape. There's good distance between these two lines as well, between the attacking line and the defensive line, making sure that they have compactness of play and preventing that opposition from being able to get anything through the centre of the park, forcing balls out into those wide areas where the tall, strong centre-backs can deal with any kind of aerial pressure. It's a good defensive setup that has seen them see off quite a number of opportunities. The setup and dynamic of a Thomas Frank midfield is really exciting, especially if you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan, because it's the return of a midfield double pivot, especially from this season. It's the return of a central attacking midfielder in the form of Damsgaard, and these are player profiles that I think really suit Tottenham. We'll get onto that a little bit later, but let's just take a look at this. You've got the two Brentford midfielders, the double pivot, sat next to each other, really close together, and they're going to drop at the same moment. It's this game intelligence, knowing that they're being pressed, that gives them the opportunity to really move this Leicester side around. And as they drop, you've got the recycling of the ball through the Brentford defensive line, and then they're going to play it through round into this pocket of space here that the right back is then going to take up. It's through that movement that gives space really between the midfield line and the defensive line, and all of a sudden what you're going to see now is the movement of your attacking midfielder in Damsgaard. Look at how much space he's in, and that's all down to the great rotation, to the great movement of that Brentford midfield double pivot. Then you've got a good pass into this area, and all of a sudden you've got channels opened. All of a sudden you've got the ability for your main creative player to start to pick a pass. Movement is absolutely key. We'll talk about that with the forward line a little bit later, but it's about finding those spaces, finding those passing lanes, giving good movement for your teammates, and letting your creative player do what he does best. And he absolutely finds a pass that goes straight through the heart of this Leicester defensive line and gives them a great opportunity for a goal, and in fact they do score. But it's down to that great movement, and I think the dynamic between that double pivot, the attacking midfielder, included with the profiles of this Tottenham Hotspur squad, it's going to be a match made in heaven. But just because it's a midfield double pivot, that doesn't mean that they can't go forwards. They absolutely can. It's that adaptability that I was talking about within the side and the rotation between these three players. Notice the positioning of Damsgaard here and Norgard. You've actually got Yarmouk going forwards and taking this space in between the fullback and the centre-back, and it's this space that needs to be occupied by the clever Brentford midfielders, and this is through great training work on the training pitch, and it's also through great positioning and tactical awareness from Thomas Frank and his backroom staff, not to mention the players that are executing it. But you've also got the ability for him to spin. You've then got pressure coming forwards. You've got Norgard being really aggressive. Notice how many attacking players are close to this Brighton box. It's really, really well done. It gives them the option to really start to stifle this Brighton counter-attack, and in fact, in that pressure, they win the ball back, and Norgard recovers possession and allows the play to continue. It's through this that gives Brentford their real good aggression throughout the game. Again, controlled aggression. It's going to be far more composed, but it's going to give them the ability to position themselves much better and be a far less chaotic outfit. It's really good, and it works super, super well. And I mentioned that Tottenham have the perfect profiles to be able to enact this and really get the best out of this kind of system. And this is what I think he'll go for. I think they need a deep-lying playmaker in Bentancur, but I think he needs a partner. The youthful energy, exuberance and quality of Bergvall and his ability to then go forwards and make those forward-thinking runs with Maddison, I think could really, really work. Bentancur picking up the ball, recycling possession, being that progressive passer that we know Tottenham need, and then being able to move a little bit more centrally to allow Bergvall to go forwards, stretch his legs a little bit more, giving Maddison extra help, extra license to go forwards. Then you've got extra creativity in this attacking third, and it gives Maddison a little bit more space. At the same time, you're also creating those attacking runs. It just suits this Tottenham midfield pretty perfectly. Bergvall has the ability to be that dynamo, to be that little bit more adaptable when it comes to defensive and offensive situations. His ability to drop back and be part of a midfield double pivot, I think, is really there, and the more he grows into that role, the better that I think you're going to see him. And as for a central attacking midfielder, James Maddison is a number 10. That's how he plays, that's how he wants to be, and I think in this system you're really going to see some proper plays out of him, some good positioning, and it's going to all knit together very, very nicely. And it's when you look forwards towards the attack that I think is the most exciting thing for Tottenham fans when we're talking about Thomas Frank coming into the club. It's the way that he's going to be able to improve this attack and get it to be even more efficient. Brentford scored 66 goals in the Premier League last season. That's more than Chelsea, it's more than Tottenham, and it's more than Aston Villa. All teams with players that we associate with being very dynamic, very attacking. And Tottenham and Ange, and thinking about the way that they wanted to go forwards, that chaotic nature, to be able to be entertaining and score goals. Brentford ending up scoring more, and that is testament to the way that Thomas Frank's attacking principles of play have come through that side and really come to the forefront. And it's those attacking principles that I think will be instilled within this Tottenham side. Thinking about that midfield double pivot, giving them a good platform to then go forwards, the freedom of the central attacking midfielder to roam into different areas instead of being in a central pocket of space, dropping deeper to then allow himself to progress the ball forwards. But it's the movement that he gets out of his forward line that I think is the most crucial thing for not only this Brentford side, but going forwards for this Tottenham setup. Spreading out wide, holding your position out wide to then make darting diagonal runs infield. And it's those infield runs that open up the passages of play and the passing lanes for these through balls that come from not only the attacking midfielder, but even from deeper, even from midfield. It's these kind of principles that allow Brentford to go forwards and will soon allow Tottenham to start to create attack after attack. In this particular scenario, you've got Damsgaard out on this left-hand side, picking the ball up and driving forwards. Look at Kevin Schade here out on that far left side. He's positioned himself by the touchline, but he's going to make a darting run from out to in, and it's this diagonal out to in run that's going to cause so many problems for so many different defenses when we're thinking about it from a Tottenham point of view. The through ball comes, and then you've got dynamic patterns of play, you've got dynamic running and a good cross into the box. Another big major point about this Brentford attack and the way that Tottenham are going to go forwards is the way that they get all of their forwards into the box or around the box for nearly every single attack. For a lot of the things that we're going to be looking at and a lot of things we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about that front three being able to get into the box more often than not. And in this particular scenario, they managed to score. And what did I say? You've got 1, 2, 3. That's your front three in and around the penalty area when they're looking to score the goal. And it happens time after time again, all through Thomas Frank's attacking principles of play. Let me show you another angle of this same moment that we just spoke about, because I think it's really important. This is how Tottenham will go forward. It's going to be a key part of the way they start to attack sides and the key principles of play that they will have instilled in them from the very get-go. So you've got high and wide players. You've got Schade, you've got Mbomo, and you've also got Visser. These are the three players that are going to be looking to make darting runs into the box. Visser obviously going forwards, but in the case of the two wingers, you're looking at them making infield runs. Brentford have had the most shots, or the second highest amount of shots, from central positions. 71% of their shots have come from the centre of the goal, or the centre of the pitch, rather than being out wide. That's more than Man City, that's more than Liverpool, it's more than Arsenal. Only Brighton have more, and that's with 72%, which means that they're able to get themselves, Brentford they're able to get themselves into a more central area continuously. They're looking to get centrally, and that is really, really important. It's in this central area you're going to have a better chance of scoring. It sounds simple, and it is simple, but it's incredibly difficult to get your side to operate on time after time again, and it's only through relentless training that they've been able to do this. It's incredibly difficult to defend against. The through balls are really, really good, and the movement off the ball is fantastic. This is what you're going to see with Tottenham and Thomas Frank's offensive play. And when you're talking about the personnel that could really fit into this kind of attacking system, there are so many different options. I've opted for Johnson out on this left side to really use his blistering pace to start to try and press against that defensive line. You've got Kulusevski playing almost that Mbomo role, the ability for him to drift infield, find these moments of space just in front of the box and then get himself into this area. He's got incredible technical ability, and his link-up play with Maddison could be really, really crucial, especially if you wanted to start to push Pedro Porro up to be supportive a little bit. Again, I mentioned about the fullbacks working with the wingers and working with the attackers, not necessarily wanting to overload continuously, but rather than a more supportive role, giving them the ability to take this space. And then the moment they start to drive forwards into the box, that's when you start to get that trigger. That's when you start to get your defenders coming forwards. That's when you get your fullbacks coming forwards. But remember, it's all about that out to in movement. Kulusevski moving from out to in into the box. Johnson doing exactly the same thing. And then you're looking to get good passes into Solanke. The moment you move forwards, you can have Bergvall then come and join the attack. All of a sudden, he's next to Maddison. And you start to see those attacking phases of play come to the forefront, allowing them to then push up a little bit further. All of a sudden, you're able to then recycle the ball. Make sure you're able to pen the opposition in. But it's all about these attacking movements, these attacking runs. You're going to see this time after time again from Tottenham, making sure you're going out from in, finding those through balls, finding those passes in between the lines, in between the defenders. Really, really important, really key. And then you're looking for those final moments in the final third, getting into the box, getting your three attackers into the box once the defensive line drops. Once they find themselves penned into their area, then you're looking for movements into this area. You're looking for Johnson to be making runs in field, Solanke to get into the box, and you're looking to try to get as many possible shots from that central area, because that gives you a much better opportunity to go forwards. As I said previously, these attacking principles of play will transform the way that Tottenham go forwards, and I think it will give them a whole new outlook on the way that they can start to break down a side through not only great passes but also superior, brilliant movement. It's then about capitalising on that and making sure you convert your chances, which I'm sure with this great Tottenham side they should be able to, and they will. But of course, you've also got different options. You can have Son here, you can have Odegaard here, you've got Mathys Tel, Richarlison if he stays. There are so many different options for Tottenham to go forwards, and it is so very exciting for what Thomas Frank and this Tottenham side could accomplish in the future. And then we looked at this moment previously, but we looked at it through the lens of a midfielder, whereas if we look from a general attacking point of view, you've seen that they've progressed down this left-hand side. You've seen that you've got your left-back pushing forwards. This could very easily be Destiny Udogie. You've seen the attacking midfielder in possibly Maddison play a ball through into the likes of Bergvall, who's here. And then when you look at the width being held by your left-back, you can then look to the centre of the pitch to see how your attackers have been able to turn that situation and put it into their favour. So you've got your left winger, this could be the likes of a Johnson or a Son, you've got your striker in Solanke, and you've also got your right winger in either a Kulusevski or even in a Johnson if you wanted to, or an Odegaard out on this far side. You can really see how this Tottenham side could adapt to this style of play and really start to create some major attacking chances. And in my opinion, it makes it super exciting to see what this Tottenham side could look like under Thomas Frank in the future. And there you have it, guys. That is Thomas Frank and Tottenham Hotspur. Initially, I can see there being some negativity surrounding his tactical flexibility within this Tottenham Hotspur side, but rather than a weakness, I can only see it being something of a huge strength. And later down the line, his attacking philosophy and principles of play will push Tottenham on to really achieve their goals. But of course, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you make of Thomas Frank and Tottenham, and how well do you think the two are going to do in the future? I'd love to hear from you, so please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who would you like to see Thomas Frank sign, and how do you think they'll do next season? Thank you as much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.